I always wanted to be a father, always wanted to be a dad. And so we welcomed our first son, Charles, in 2014. We were thrilled, right? And so we always talked about how cool it would be to have back-to-back boys that were close in age, that would grow up being best friends, and just how neat that would be. So when we found out that we welcomed our second son, Langston, you couldn't tell us nothing. We were over the moon. Throughout Kira's entire pregnancy, she was extremely healthy. All signs pointed to both Kira and our new baby Langston being extremely healthy. We went in for the delivery, for Langston's delivery at 2:00 in the afternoon. And Langston was born perfectly healthy, 10 fingers, 10 toes, just perfect, right? And so this was it, everything we had hoped for, everything we had prayed for, it was finally here. And as I'm watching Kira rest and I'm watching Langston rest, I look down and I see blood in the catheter coming from Kira's bedside. And so this is around 4:00 in the afternoon. So I brought it to the attention of the doctors and the nurses. They came in, they examined her, and they did ultrasound, and they could see that blood was beginning to fill in her abdomen. But very importantly, they ordered a CT scan that was supposed to be performed stat, right? 5:00 comes, no CT scan. 6:00 comes, 7:00 comes. They still haven't done anything. And now by this time, Kira is shivering uncontrollably because she's losing so much blood. And more adamantly, I'm asking, well, look, when are y'all taking her back? And they're saying, well, sir, maybe we may need to take her back for surgery. Let me see. And this game of runaround and delay and denial is continuing to get worse. 8:00 comes, no CT scan. Still haven't taken her back for surgery. 9:00 comes. Kira's still there in immense pain, pale, having trouble staying awake. And around 9:00, a nurse came in. I grabbed her by both of her hands and I looked her in her eyes and said, ma'am, my wife is not doing good. They said that they were supposed to take her back for a CT scan. Nobody has come. They said that they might take her back to surgery. She's still sitting here suffering. Can you please just help us? At which point this woman snatched her hands away from me and said words that haunt me until this day. She said to me, sir, your wife just isn't a priority right now. Your wife just isn't a priority. 9:00, 10:00, 11:00. It wasn't until after midnight that they finally took Kira back to surgery. They wheeled Kira in and the doors closed behind her. When those doors closed behind Kira, that was the last time I saw my wife alive. When they took her back into the operating room and opened her up, there were 3 liters of blood in her abdomen from where she had been allowed to bleed and suffer while they did absolutely nothing. And what medical experts told us when they saw the records is that they were absolutely astonished that she lived that long. And the only reason she made it that long is surely because she was in remarkable shape and surely her will to live. Kira deserved so much better. My boys deserved so much better. And what we all know, and that's why I'm proud to be a part of this conversation, is that women, particularly Black women all over our country, deserve so much better. Hey, Mommy.
Hey, Daddy.
Hey, Langston.
Hey,
5 minutes away.
All right, let's go, guys.
The good news is that we can fix this. And so we founded an organization called For Kira for Moms to not only pay honor to Kira, but to all the mothers that have made the ultimate sacrifice, giving the gift of life. We believe that this issue of maternal mortality needs to be viewed for what it truly is. It's not a women's health issue. It's not a Black issue. It is a human rights issue, and it needs to be viewed and it needs to be treated as such. A big part of our advocacy work is policy reform and legislation. I've been extremely fortunate to be involved in some groundbreaking legislation on both the state and the federal level. In 2017, I worked with a bipartisan coalition to pass the first ever federal legislation to prevent mothers from dying in childbirth, the Preventing Maternal Deaths Act. In 2021, we went back to Capitol Hill with an extremely bold piece of legislation that is groundbreaking. It's called the Momnibus. It is a comprehensive package of not one, not two, not four, not five, but 12 different pieces of legislation, right? Comprising a $5 billion investment in the Black maternal health crisis, making sure that we are training up a new generation of culturally competent obstetricians, doulas, midwives, making sure that community-based female Black women-led organizations are receiving federal funding. It's going to make sure that there are social accountability mechanisms in place for providers, setting a standard of culturally competent care and holding providers accountable that aren't meeting that. And last but not least is going to be the Kira-Johnson Act, which is going to be included in this bill, that is going to make sure that we have more stringent accountability. We're going to make sure that we have implicit bias training in all maternal health care settings. And it's going to make sure that there's funding, particularly for, like I said, those Black women-led organizations. There has been an amazing collective of stakeholders from the private sector, from grassroots organizations, from people in the government, stepping out boldly and saying that enough is enough. And so I firmly believe that within our lifetime, this maternal mortality crisis is going to be something we talk about in the historical contents.